What's up, everybody? We're here with another episode of the Last Wave podcast. This will inadvertently be a start to a new series. I had another episode written up to go up before this one, but it's perfectly fine. There's going to be 50 of them. So we'll get started. This one is a little series I wanted to start called 50 States of Paranormal. My first episode was supposed to be North Carolina, as it is my home state, but I forgot to email that to myself. So today we're going to start with Tennessee. This will branch out of my backyard just a little bit. And again, I do plan on doing all 50 states, not just the ones surrounding me. I do have a couple more drawn up and ready to go as well, so that'll be cool. And just to let you know, this is a lot of work. Everything I've done so far has been averaging 4 pages just of notes, so there'll be over 200 pages, so it'll be a little ways to go. All right, so let's dive into the backwoods and the mountains of Tennessee. There are no shortage of paranormal topics going on in Tennessee, from abandoned prisons where inmates are supposedly still walking around, haunted plantations, crazy cryptids. There's really plenty to dive into. Quick note though, I will not be going into the Bell Witch legend as I was going to, and I started to add that to this episode, but I ended up with 4 or 5 pages just on that by itself. So that will be an upcoming episode. It's America's first ghost story. It's actually personally connected to me on a couple levels, so it's really something I just started writing and ended up 4 or 5 pages just for that one. So that'll be an upcoming episode here soon. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, we start in Meeman Shelby Forest in Germantown, Tennessee. This seems like a perfectly fine little state park. It's really pretty. I looked up some of the pictures. It's right along the Mississippi River. 13,000 plus acres of pristine land. Great during the day, but at night it's a different story. Apparently at night, the pig man comes out. A humanoid figure with a pig head. That's right. Not something cool like a werewolf, but a pig head. There are a few stories as to how this urban legend actually began. One is a plant worker disfigured and driven mad by an explosion. A crazy person who puts the heads of pigs on spikes to ward off people around his property, and wears one to terrify people and people that tourists and people that stray too far. Or some type of horrible cryptid like Wolfman or Bigfoot. Either way, it is not advised that you approach the pig man, so if you see a creepy pig-headed person out in the woods of Tennessee at night, go ahead and run the other way. No reason to bother. You don't want to know what he's up to, and he doesn't really want to know what you're up to, so leave him be. Next, we're going to go to Shiloh National Park in Shiloh, Tennessee. This place was the site of one of the bloodiest battles in U.S. history. Between April 6th and 7th of 1862, it saw more than 23,000 American sons and fathers killed on its land. The Confederates found and attacked a Union group. The Union group managed to hold until reinforcements arrived and pushed the Confederates back. The violence and death of that day left a literal stain on the land. Along with ghost sightings, as you would expect in sites like this in Gettysburg, there's also a pretty crazy legend of the pond that's in the park, turning blood red multiple times. I couldn't find any pictures online of that, but there are stories, of course. It is unclear whether the pond existed during the time of the battle, but if it did, it would have certainly been used as a place of relief, wound washing, horse watering, and with as much blood as soaked in those grounds, it's not really any surprise that some remnants of that still hangs around. Another battle site that has activity is Carton Plantation. It's in Franklin, Tennessee. The Battle of Franklin took place less than a mile from the plantation on November 30th, 1864. The Confederates attacked a Federal position. In one evening, during a large charge and ensuing battle, there were 8,500 casualties just in one night, y'all. That's insane. That's a lot of people just for one evening. Carton's proximity and size, being a well-to-do large plantation home and field, made it a perfect field hospital. There is no real clear number of deaths, and That has really led to ghost sightings of men in period clothing, as to would be expected, as well as the spirit of Confederate General Pat Cleburne. The general and two of his close men were laid down on the back porch. Their final bloodstains can actually still be seen to this day when they do tours and stuff. It is said that his spirit paces back and forth, sometimes even stopping to talk to visitors for a short time. So I'm sure that is a rivetingly interesting conversation. For our next stop, we move to McNairy County in the 1800s. Residents reported seeing a humanoid figure that wasn't really a Bigfoot and also wasn't a normal human. The creature stood upright and around 7 feet tall, as reported, had brown to red hair, red eyes, and a scream that would cause a grown man to stand still, terrified. It was supposedly very fast and strong. A few times it was seen approaching homes, and once it knew it was spotted, it ran away and cleared fences easily. So it had to be, a pretty, pretty tall, pretty athletic. He's a wild man, I guess. The last recorded sightings ended in the 1990s, actually. So it would be safe to assume there was a population of this cryptid, if it was real. While Tennessee is a very large state, it's only 16th or 17th most populated. So that is a lot of open space with nothing on it. So I mean, there's plenty of spaces for a small community or tribe of some creature to live. There are also reports of course, of Bigfoot sightings in the state, which is easy to believe with all that wild space. We all know what a Bigfoot is at this point, so I'm not really going to get into any of that. If this is your first time hearing about a Bigfoot, I don't know what to tell you. Google. I don't know how that happened that you got to me without hearing about it, but look into it. Now to branch into another series just a bit, a wild story of what was called the White Screamer popped up in my research. This was a crazy story that I found. Apparently, in the 1920s in White Bluff, Tennessee, a family settled in a hollow and built a home for themselves. Every single night, it is reported the family was awoken from sleep by a wailing scream outside. After enduring this for an unknown amount of time, the father decided to run out into the night, shotgun in hand, determined to put it in to whatever creature was making this horrible sound and keeping his family from sleeping. So he followed the scream out into the darkness. Couldn't pinpoint it, but the scream eventually led him back to his home, where the sounds had multiplied. And entering his home, he found his family torn apart. Again, it's a crazy story. There isn't a lot about this entity, but if it was real, it could have been a version of the Banshee, a screaming entity that alerts when death is coming. That falls into the Hidden World series, as well as another episode I did on Women in White. Or it could be the ravings of a madman who made up a story to cover the deaths of his family. So it's really creepy either way you slice it. Pardon the pun on that one. My bad. Now with a body of water such as the Tennessee River being over 650 miles long, it is no surprise to know that a few monsters reside there. Some reports in the 1800s of serpent-like creatures in the river attacking canoes and people are documented, actually. They have kind of evolved over the years into large catfish stories, which I will go over I will branch into that some more when I talk about North Carolina's catfish, and they're actually their own little, lake monster. So that's another cool story. Let's see, that's actually part of the story I wrote, so I don't want to go with that. Anyway, finally, let's move to the skies of Tennessee. Tennessee is further up on the list of places for UFO sightings than I would have expected. That surprised me, with them being where they are on population level. Most highly populated states are top 3, but Tennessee is in the top 6 according to the MUFON website. Now, that means there are way too many for me to dive into here, but they range from everything. As far as size, shape, night, day, I could be on here for an hour just going over UFO reports that I found and videos that I saw. So just know that if this is your home state, keep an eye on the skies. Look up some of the reports and learn about them for yourself. there's a very, very high chance that if any of them are seen, they're seen in populated areas in Tennessee. All right. So, okay, as usual, I'm sure in this case there are plenty more places, creatures, topics for this state that I could go over, and that's something that's going to kind of come up. I'm going to hit my major topics: paranormal, ghost stories, monsters, cryptids, UFOs, that kind of stuff. Big haunting stories, that kind of stuff. So they'll all kind of follow the same general format, but they'll all be different, obviously, because it's different states. So we're at the 10-minute mark. That's where I like to keep my episodes for right now. So that's probably going to be it for today. I encourage everyone to get out and research some of the things in your own state. I've learned a lot just about different states. Like I said, I've got a couple more episodes written and ready to go. I learned a lot about my state through doing the research as well. I definitely encourage everyone to go do their own research. And of course, as always, thank you so much for listening and for tuning in. Hopefully, I'm going to look into getting this podcast, on some different formats as well. I'm not exactly sure what all that is, but it's getting a lot of views and a lot of listens. So I'm going to try to figure out how to get it out to more places. We are on Facebook, Last Wave. You can look up Last Wave Cast, Last Wave Podcast. We're on Facebook, and I post whenever I have new stuff up on there as well. So feel free to follow us and hit the page up. And again, I thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.